Football fans have a love-hate relationship with replay review. On one hand, we decry moments from the past that should have gone the other way had we just been able to let the officials take one more look and make the right call. Think about Mike Renfro's apparent game-tying touchdown in the 1979 AFC Championship game that was ruled out of bounds incorrectly. What about the immaculate reception? Would it have survived a second look? Seasons, perhaps even dynasties, may have been altered by the absence of replay. On the other hand, we constantly complain about reviews, the back and forth, the delay that kills the rhythm of the game, the inconsequential nature of some calls. But there was a time when replay was banished, taken away from us, for 6 years in fact, and it wasn't because of technology. Today we're going to look at when the NFL banned instant replay, and were we better off? And that's coming up right after this. We first got replay in 1986 under the guidance of Commissioner Pete Rozelle and continued to utilize the original form of replay for 6 years. But why did it take so long in the first place? The short answer is technology. Prior to the advent of video, it was too costly and too clunky to install instant replay monitors into every stadium in the NFL. And it would have taken a minimum of 12 cameras to cover every angle on the field that would have been required to make replay review actually effective and worthwhile. So the league imagined its potential but kept it on the shelf until the mid-80s when technology and the league's deep pockets proved it could be a feasible endeavor. In 1985, the NFL tested its prototype for replay review during 8 preseason games, and the results were immensely positive. So positive, in fact, that the NFL owners nearly voted to implement replay during the 1985 playoffs before even having used it in the regular season. Former Browns owner and notorious snake Art Modell said after the vote that owners didn't want a playoff game decided by a bad call, and so they tried to push it through right there, but that was a little too quick for some people. The vote didn't go through, and fortunately a replay review was not the deciding factor in the Super Bowl that season, just 36 points. By 1986, replay was universal, passed by a vote of 23-4-1. There were no challenges at the time, so the only reviewable plays were initiated by the officials, looking at change of possession plays, plays governed by the sideline, forwards or backwards laterals, and easily detectable infractions such as too many men on the field. But the catch was that the rules renewal would be voted on every year, much like the current pass interference review rules. Bullshit. The system was mostly useful, and although only 10% of calls got overturned in '86, it marked progress and the feeling of taking control and giving the league a greater sense of transparency. Oh, but there were plenty of snafus that might have caused its temporary demise. Take a crucial play between the Chiefs and the Raiders the first year of replay. Raiders wide receiver Dokie Williams caught a pass that was ruled a touchdown on the field, proved incomplete by the booth, but when the booth radioed to the official, the words "pass incomplete" were heard as "pass is complete," and the Raiders won 24-17 on an illegitimate touchdown. A similar situation occurred in a game between the Bears and the Packers in '89 when Packers QB Don Majkowski appeared to have stepped over the line of scrimmage when throwing a late game winning touchdown to Sterling Sharp. That's the quiet one that doesn't look like a horse, by the way. The refs ruled over the line, but upon review they changed their minds and issued Green Bay the game winner, leading to a healthy deal of controversy. Changes were made in the wake of civil unrest. There was new officiating language like confirmed or reversed, and radio headsets replaced walkie-talkies. Reversals grew from 10% to 15% after 6 years, but owners weren't satisfied. The NFL determined that 10% of the 90 overturned calls in 1991 were incorrect, sparking a new sentiment that replay just didn't work. And after the 1991 season, 17 owners voted to do away with replay review. The new commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, was hopeful that replay would evolve along with the advancement of electronic technology, but the owners were short-sighted enough to vote the league back into medieval times. The NFL banned replay from 1992 to 1998. 7 years where the balance of the game hung squarely on the shoulders of the on-field officials. Because of what was perceived as underwhelming technology, the NFL again went back to the old system, which was effectively no system at all. There were, of course, benefits of leaving the game up to fate rather than Big Brother. The game flowed smoothly, there were no long delays over insignificant plays, and we were treated to the great drama of human error. one of the many reasons baseball fans oppose an electronic strike zone. When a bad call was made, fans, players, and coaches alike accepted there was no recourse, no review, and quickly moved on. But obviously, this couldn't last. There were a couple of plays in the 1998 season that made it clear that replay had to make a return. First, an October game between the Seahawks and the Jets. A last-second sneak by Jets quarterback Vinny Testaverde gave the Jets a 32-31 victory over Seattle, but a further look showed that while the quarterback's helmet had broke the goal line, the ball had clearly not. Had Seattle won that game, they would have qualified for a wild card spot. They didn't, and their coaching staff got the axe as a result. Another controversial moment happened just before an iconic playoff moment. On the drive that was to culminate in Terrell Owens' the catch 2 in the Packers-49ers wildcard game, Jerry Rice caught a pass and appeared to have fumbled before his knee hit the ground. But the play was whistled dead and robbed the Packers of what could have been their chance to appear in 3 straight Super Bowls. Yeah, I forgot about that. Enough was enough, and the owners voted by a count of 28-3 to bring back the new and improved version of replay review. Coaches were allowed to risk a timeout for each of their 2 challenges per game, and later a possible third in 2004. And all questionable calls within the last 2 minutes of each half were initiated by an official in the booth. Chiefs owner Lamar Hunt, who had been anti-replay since its origin, changed his tune when it came to vote, saying, "I voted for it this time because I see an opportunity to use improved technology. I have some misgivings. I still think there are imperfections in the system, but let's see what happens." So in the balance of the flow of the game and getting things right, incompetence once again won out. Older fans may hark back to the time of banned replays and say football was better back then, but you know, I'm gonna hit that with an okay boomer. One huge problem that developed was during the banned era, more and more cameras and angles were added, exposing bad refs and blown calls, but with still no recourse. Were we really better off without replay? Today, instant replay is generally accepted as something that does stall the flow of the game, but is a necessary nuisance to ensure that the right team wins. And it hasn't always gone smoothly. Take the infamous Bottlegate in 2001. The Browns trailed 15-10 late, and a 4th down pass to Quincy Morgan appeared to keep their hopes alive. Quarterback Tim Couch spiked the ball with 48 seconds left to stop the clock, at which point the refs decided to review the 4th down catch by Morgan. When they looked at it, the officials decided Morgan bobbled the ball and awarded the ball and an effective win to Jacksonville. Beer bottles rained down from angry fans high atop the field, aiming straight for the guilty party. The point is, there's no perfect system, and even correctly reviewed plays can spark major controversy and vitriol against the sport's most frequent scapegoat, the dreaded zebras. But with the help of technological progress and trial and error, the NFL is seemingly getting it right more than they're getting it wrong with replay. Football is a messy game, and replay seeks to clean it up. There are 1.3 replays per game on average, and they delay each game by about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Not a bad price to pay for the right call. Technology evolves. Replay has gone from a covered monitor to tablets, from standard to high definition, and now includes consultation from the league office in New York. Replay, of course, now covers pass interference thanks to the debacle in the NFC Championship game when Drew Brees threw an interception in overtime. Oh wait, it was back in regulation when the game was still up in the air. It was a good idea, but it's clearly not working. What we do know is that fans will complain regardless, sometimes for good reason and other times to deflect blame from the failures of their own flaming disappointment of a football team. But replay is great theater in and of itself. It's the great guessing game, an exercise and perspective, and a chance for Mike Carey to consistently guess wrong.
Should be an incomplete pass. Is this an easy one for Blandino and Walt, you think?
After hearing the play, the ruling on the field of an interception stands.
So the answer for me is resoundingly no. We were not better off when replay was banned. In fact, being a fan during that era was incredibly frustrating. It's easy to see how things are now and think how the NFL would be if that beta cuck Al Riveron had not one iota of check or balance on his terrible staff. So like football, the rules are ever changing, and replay, the eye in the sky that enforces those rules, well, even that is always going to be under further review. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to check out our sponsor and use my code POINTS100 for a 100% cash match on your first deposit. I'm 5 Points Vids, and upon further review, you made it to my next video.